And welcome to All About The Gers. It's myself, Ricki Neill, joined by Charlie Miller, Derek Ferguson. We've got another special guest. Seems to be quite popular with the public. So we've got Jamie Martin back again. Big thank you to all our sponsors, Plugged In Business Solutions, the Loudon Tavern at Ibrox, DB Dental Care, Mr. Sings India and Avia Signs. How you doing, guys? All right?
Good.
Very well. All good.
Aye, we've got
A superstar I'm talking to today. And it's no Charlie, it's no Jamie. It's you, Ricky boy.
Aye.
He's on Sky, man.
The TV this morning.
He's moving on to bigger things, Del.
Correct, and so it should be. I'm
know, but
loving his work.
I'll be in his seat in a couple of weeks. I think he's doing a contract with Sky. So,
I know. Do you know, I was saying to the guys there, Derek, when you're doing the live, I'm not always nervous as it before it, and it's not until after you come off and you realise what you've just said. And I said that Stevie G's got standards. He turns up in a suit, looks the part. He says, whereas Russell Martin turns up in a pre-marked blazer and a black t-shirt. I was like, I can't believe I just said that.
You were correct in what you said because it's about standards. And as I think Charlie's mentioned it, I think I've mentioned it. I think it's about tradition when you're connected with Rangers Football Club. That's the way we were brought up. So I quite like that Stevie G respects our tradition. I think it's, I think you've got to applaud him for that. I got to applaud you because you've just brought it up. And people, they laugh at it, but that's a small part of what it's like being at Rangers.
Aye. Do you know, like, you look at wee Bud and Colin Steen and that, they still wear their club tie and their suit and all that, don't they, Charlie?
Aye, every time we're at the game. So does Dukey and Marv and the rest of the guys who work behind the scenes. But as when we played, we had to turn up every day with shirt and tie on. It wasn't a Rangers shirt and tie every day, but it was shirt and tie, dress shirt and tie, and then the match day suit for the games. So we were brought up with it. I was brought up with it as a kid, and I don't understand why it changed, but.
And Charlie, there was a reason that you turned up like that, because it was business time. We meant business. It's about winning a game of football. It's like somebody turning up at their office. They're not going to turn up with a pair of shorts and a t-shirt if they're dealing with other clients. And it's respect. It's all that. It's business time. So there's nothing wrong with that. I thought you made a good point, Ricky. Don't worry about it.
I gave a pre-mark wee advert and also I'll be wanting some money.
I can send you that t-shirt.
Aye. Jamie, it's good to have you back on again as well. Obviously, we'll talk about the football later on, but the main point today is Russell Martin's finally gone. Did you expect it to take him so long to do that, Jamie?
I thought, to be honest, the abuse that guy suffered in the end, I thought was horrific. The guy's a human being at the end of the day. We all know that he wasn't the man for the job. The board took too long, in my view. And the first time I was on the show was probably a month ago. I called it then. I got shot at him then. And you wouldn't have had this barrage of abuse for the fans, which was unacceptable, really. But I put that down to the board. They should have dealt with it early doors and put it to bed. Everybody knows the performances and the results were clearly to see were not good enough. There was no improvement in any department, in my view. However, they took too long, in my view, and they're at fault for quite a lot, the board. I think they've got a lot to answer for with timing and stuff.
Charlie, Jamie says there about every time you hear Russell Martin, after every game, he says you can see improvement. But it just wasn't happening. I don't know what game he was watching.
It wasn't, as Jamie said, it was the abuse became too much for even some. I understand the fans' frustration but we have to temper it a wee bit better. That's the way we can't just be abusing people, but understand the frustration. We're frustrated 100%. And as Jamie says, as Derek said before, the guy's mental health must have been no great. But the board have got a lot to answer for because it did take too long.
Derek, obviously all the Rangers fans were surprised that Russell Martin was even in the running for the Rangers job. How do you think that all came about?
It was bemusing, wasn't it? Because he was way down the pecking order. Sorry, when it came to the fans. I, for 1 minute, I'll be honest with you, I never thought he would have got the job. But to be fair, and what we've got to be fair to the fans is they were going to give him a chance. So it was up to Russell Martin to take that opportunity, and he clearly didn't. Jamie made a good point. It wasn't just about results. It was the performances. The performances were woeful. And the way he dealt with it as a manager, he went about it in the wrong way, big time. I mean, he called the players out after, the second game, the Motherwell game. So already, he's having a go at them instead of trying to protect them, to get them on side. It just was a whole mess, wasn't it, towards the end up. I think he lost the players early doors. Once you do that, they lose that little bit of respect that respect they have for you, then you're always peeing against the wind.
Mm-hmm. Jamie, there's Kenneth Rutherford online. He's saying if the fans were quiet, he would still be there.
Yep.
And I'm thinking, do you think the 49ers are listening to the fans? And if so, I mean, obviously online just now it's all Gerrard. So do you think they'll be swayed to go with somebody like Gerrard?
I think he's the only man. There's two guys in the frame for me who I would go and get. Frank Lampard or Steven Gerrard. Lampard could be a difficult one, given the fact that Coventry are sitting championships leaders at the minute. And I think the compensation would be very high, given the fact that they're sitting high and they look like they'll go up this year. They're absolutely flying. And he's got them playing. He's got some tune out of them. He's turned them around, Coventry. They look like they'll go up. Is he going to leave that at that time? Questionable. Stevie G, as I mentioned in the last show, spoke to his agent, Struan, Marshall, and it was all on. I know for a fact that they had discussions to bring in a backroom staff with Gary Mack, McGregor, Defoe and these guys coming in to help him. I think it's clear that he's probably the man for the job. So what I'm hearing now, that they've basically had the discussions, and the stumbling block is Kevin Thelwell. Now, you've got a situation where obviously Kevin is responsible for bringing the players in. Now, I know that Russell Martin gave him targets at the beginning of the season, and I don't think this would have changed anything in terms of Russell Martin's coaching or his man management. But I know 3 players that he gave him a list to get. They never got one of them. One was Shea Adams, Kenny McLean, and Connor Cody were the first 3 that he wanted to get in. Kevin never got any of them over the line. And he's questionable. I mean, you've got to question all these signings. There's only 2 hit the ground running. Gassama, Miovski to a certain extent, although he's had very little service, he's scored a couple of goals, important goals, and there's goals in that guy. But when you look at the 12, 13 signings, if you've only got 2 of them coming out positive, you've got to question who's in charge.
That's the fact. Russell Martin's having to deal with the players, right? But he tried to change everything too much. And I was never the biggest fan of Dessers, but you can't just get rid of Dessers and then pray that you bring somebody else on deadline day in like Chimiti and it's going to work. You can't just try and get rid of Tav, who's been brilliant for his early years, and you're trying to get rid of him right away. You try to make too many changes too soon.
I think there's a lack of... Sorry, Charlie.
Keep the guys on board and then slowly, gradually push them out if that's what you want to do. But it was trying to do wholesale changes too quickly.
Right. I mean, Jamie, everybody keeps on going on about Russell Martin's his tactics. He was overcoaching the players. And the class example is Ant-Man. You know, before he had a chance to talk to Russell Martin, he was like, had an amazing game in Europe. And then we've not seen him play the game as good as he can.
Yeah, his first game he started like training. I think everybody got excited and thought, oh, we've got somebody in the right flank that can actually run at people and be positive and get crosses in the box, shots on target, and and get assists. But after the first game, he's done. For me, he's been poor. I mean, Asgard's the same. But as I mentioned before, there's 10 players that he's brought in, apart from the 2 that I mentioned. Very poor. And listen, they didn't cost pennies. Yeah. A lot of money.
Derek, we've been hearing that obviously if Gerrard's coming in, he's got a couple of conditions that he's wanting. You know, he wants to be manager, he doesn't want to be coach. He wants to be involved in the signings in and out, which I totally believe in. It's quite old school, and I think the manager should have the final say. What's your thoughts on that? Because when I was just name drop, when I was on Sky earlier on, Jamie O'Hara, he disagrees with that. You know?
No, I kind of like where you're coming from. I mean, you talk about old school. Sometimes there's nothing wrong with getting back to a little bit of the old school. I always believe the manager should have the final say. I saw a wee bit what O'Hara was saying to you, and I get that up to a point. But and I think his point was that if a new manager comes in, then he's got to deal with that. Well, welcome to the football world. That's what it's all about. Sometimes you need to deal with different difficult circumstances. But no, if I'm signing a player, I want the final call. Of course, the recruitment, they look into everything that goes with, not just how good he is, what he's like as a character. But what I liked what you said, Ricky, is it's good for the manager, if you can, always to see him in the flesh and make the final call. I liked that. I thought it was a good point.
Aye. There's Charlie Kieran McCluskey. He's saying he thinks Gerrard suffers from romanticised history. If it wasn't for COVID, he'd have been sacked.
Well, he was in a position to win the league a year before at Christmas, and then I think it was Morelos got sent off when we beat Celtic at Parkhead, and then we didn't have him for the first game back at Kilmarnock, I think it was, after the break. Then we lost at Kilmarnock, and then we just went downhill for there. I think Stevie G's had his chance. I think he's been the manager before, left obviously with the club no backing him the following year when they win the league, and then he was away to Villa. I still, for me, McInnes, or bring Barry and Doddsy and that back in, but for me, it has to be McInnes for me, but it's not going to happen. Looks like Stevie G all day long now. Jamie said Lampard, I would try and get Lampard 100%, but Lampard's in England doing well, and he's got a chance of getting him promoted to the Premier League, so I don't see him jumping.
Jamie, I'd said a couple of weeks ago about Gerrard that I thought his third season, after we won 55, the football was getting very predictable. And I just think if he'd won more full season, he would have probably got sacked. But at the same time, then you're hearing that he went to the board saying, there's 5 players I want. And then he went back and said, well, just what one out of the 5 do you really want? So he wasn't getting the backing of the board, you know, so it might be different if he had the backing of the board.
And it was, you know, my sources told me that he basically went to the board after winning the league and said, let's kick on for here. Gave them a list of players that he thought would enhance and go and win the league the following season. And they turned around and said there was no money in the pot, which led to him thinking he's took us as far as he could. Now, when a team in the Premier League comes knocking, it's like anybody out there in a job. Ricky, you could pay 120 grand a week. If somebody comes and doubles your door in any walk of life, it's going to turn your head. In my view, he should have probably sat it out a bit more, won a few more trophies at Rangers. He'd probably have put himself up there for the Liverpool job further down the line, had he stayed. But listen, football's like that. You make decisions, some you win, some you lose. I think if you ask Stevie Gerrard now, he would probably say, I regret doing that at that time.
Aye. Derek, there's Darren Nisbet. He's saying the upper management concerns me. Thelwell with his ex-Everton links and Stewart with his ex-Man U. These two teams were and in Man U case still are struggling dreadfully. You know, and I do think it's more than just Russell Martin.
Recruitment, that is.
And it's a very good call, I know, because it's been a collective, and as a collective, it's no work. So it's quite rightly so. The Stewart's inquiry is out about these two guys as well. Of course, it's the manager that's had to take on the chin, loses his job, but I think they've got to 49ers. They've got to kind of look into that, scrutinise it a little bit more, dig a little bit deeper. And by the way, there might be a few things happening. It might not be just the manager. There might be a few new incomings.
I think that as well. It was very evident when I listened very carefully to the interview with Kavanagh and Marath the other day, and they clearly came out and said that they'll have a big input in who the next manager is, which kind of highlights to me that they don't trust Thelwell, because his signings, his behaviour in terms of having a rant and a rave with a fan was unprofessional for me in a hotel. A guy in his position should walk away and let the security deal with it. There's been a lot of things that he's not dealt with well. I thought his signings, as I said, has been very poor, and I think he is walking a tightrope for me. I think Andrew Cavan and that are very shrewd guys. I think they know this, and I think he's on his last legs for me.
That's what he's based on, though. He's based on his recruitment.
Right.
So, and his recruitment's been very poor, and so is the last guy, and the last guy, and the last guy.
Yeah.
And that's where, when you're saying the manager is better, I think the manager is better having the say on who they sign and who they don't sign. I believe that totally, because if you're a manager, coach, whatever you want to be called nowadays, if you're going to get sacked, at least get sacked by signing your own players.
I think Patrick Stewart has got an absolute ace card to play here. I think he could redeem himself and get the fans back on side for him, because he's been scrutinised as well. And given the fact that he appointed Thirlwell for this job, I think he's got an ace card up his sleeve. I think.
Jamie, do you not think they made the mistake in not getting Souness on board?
Absolutely, I called it in the very first show, Della. I said I would have an Ali McCoist or I would have a Souness on board. Absolutely, you need Rangers guys on there who understand football. I would go personally now. There's Davy Beer. Davy Beer for me.
I couldn't agree more with you in what you're saying. See, as soon as or a McCoist, but there you go, big Davy Beer.
Davy Beer's track record now.
No,
we had players at Brighton, still get one there, Solly March. Had dealings with Davy, great guy, big Rangers guy. He's clearly available at the minute. His track record at Brighton in terms of moving players on for big funds was phenomenal. We're talking hundreds of millions of pounds. I'd get him on the board, and with Stevie G and his backroom staff, I think you would see a massive improvement.
Charlie, I don't know if you've seen the open letter that the 49ers wrote, but basically the main thing that they said in it, we know you're frustrated, we are too. We did not get this right, and it's our responsibility to fix it and get us back on track. Do you think they're now taking control of who's the next manager coming in then?
Well, I think that's what they're doing. They're taking control. They're obviously not happy with Farewell, but it looks of things, because him and Stewart have let the club down with everything that's happened so far. And the fans have made their point. We've got rid of Martin. And it was the right decision. They had to go. And we don't like seeing managers go. We don't. But when before he even came, 90% of us were no wanting him. But right, okay, let's give him the time. Let's let him. But then his interviews were nonsense.
Yeah.
He was talking nonsense after every game. He thinks we're daft. We're actually watching the games, and they were poor. They were terrible. But the players also need to have a look at ourselves. Right. But maybe they're just not good enough. That's the thing.
No, I think if Thirlwell's in charge of the next Rangers manager, it'd be like his third cousin or something like that. But Derek, there's the Great Wall of Canada. Says Robbie Thirlwell was a scout at Villa when Gerrard was at Villa. So do you think he'll maybe save a job because of that if it is Stevie G?
Say that again. Sorry, I never heard.
Saying the Great Wall of Canada is on social media. He's saying Robbie Thirlwell was actually a scout at Villa when Gerrard was at Villa.
All right.
Don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
Well, I know it's a difficult one, isn't it, when family are involved in relations. I know there's been I've been laughing at a lot of it over the course of the last week or so. But at the end of the day, it's all about, if you're good at your job, it doesn't matter who you're, what you're. And that's how when Jamie mentioned three guys are top of the tree when it comes to their job in football. McCoy, Souness and Big Davy. I'm glad you brought up Big Davy here, because his record is phenomenal down there, isn't it?
Unbelievable. Probably the best. I think, looking at the numbers, Dale, we had guys in the office doing numbers, and we had a couple of players there that moved on. The biggest in terms of net profit. And
Jamie, I knew him before he went to Rangers. I was at Falkirk for a short period of time with him. And right away, he was a wee bit different for the likes of the normal football player, because he was clever.
Yeah.
Aye, and he's a clever guy. You know what? We're a wee bit tuned to the moon.
No,
at
he
times.
was reading the Telegraph and big papers
Aye.
this wide. Where me and you couldn't. We're looking at the Ur Willie comics, you know.
Couldn't read.
Fergie and Durant set fire to those kind of papers, didn't you?
Aye, of course. I mean, that's where the data
Is that a Della Sport?
But this is where you can. I mean, they were a wee bit different in the dressing room, and Big Davy was so calm. I mean, it was because that he was a clever cookie, and you could just see his pathway getting into football. I thought he actually was going to become a top manager, but he's probably decided to go a different route. But he chose the right route because he's
Oh, he
very
absolutely
good.
has. Yeah.
Do you know, Charlie, a lot of the comments that are coming in are talking about, was it a coincidence that Davy Weir was actually in the Sky Sports punditry at the weekend, you know, but I said that as well at the weekend, but somebody was saying his family still stay up in Falkirk.
Aye, well, he's a ex-Rangers man, he's out of a job now, and we're putting two and two together, might be
It's a no-brainer.
It's a no-brainer,
Yes.
definitely. Russell Martin had to go. It was simple. That was it. It was simple. Now it's about starting, getting together again, supporting each other again, getting the right people in, getting the club going forward. And the 49ers have got big job in their hands because they've let a lot of the people down. Well, everybody down with what's happened so far, and they've come out and admitted it. So at least they know they've made a bloomer. So let's hope they can make some right choices now and take the club forward.
Yeah. On Thelwell, Ricky, I was going to bring this up earlier. He came out with a couple of statements. For me in the beginning, rose eyebrows to me when he comes out with quotes. And he was pressured to go on Rangers TV and because they were doing so badly, he said pressure on him to go and do an interview and try and talk sense to the fans. Now, he was waffling a load of rubbish. The things he was coming out with, saying that Russell Martin's the best coach he'd ever worked with. He's worked under Rafa Benitez, who's another shout at Rangers, by the way. A colleague of mine seen him at the airport last week in London.
Or in London.
Right? So,
I thought you meant press week or something.
No, definitely not. But you think he's in the British Isles, he's not here for nothing. Sometimes the meetings are held away from eyes, if you know what I'm saying. But getting back to Kevin Thelwell, to come away with that statement, he said Carlo Ancelotti. To come out with that and say that rose eyebrows to me, and his timing in appointing his son for me was ridiculous.
Yeah,
Carlo Ancelotti done it with his own son at Real Madrid. Now, given the fact that he was winning La Ligas and Champions Leagues, that boy flew under the radar getting that job. Nobody would raise an eyebrow.
That's the thing.
But Robbie Thelwell coming in with Rangers with no success showed lack of respect for me.
But that's
his
the
timing
thing.
was abysmal.
Jamie, I agree with Derek here though, because and I agree with you as well that the timing was stupid, the timing was poor because we were going through a terrible time. But as Derek said, Robbie Thelwell might be good at his job. He might be good, so we don't know. But the timing that wanting to appoint him wasn't a great time. If he'd won every game, he could have appointed anybody he wanted. There was no problem. Yep. But the timing of that announcement was, by the way, well, let's just pull the pants down and take. That was it. It was, the fans are going, what's happening here now? Just everybody's coming into his family are just, oh God. It was just a terrible announcement at a terrible time.
It was.
You know, there's Alan Duff, he's watching in Australia. I'll be in Australia for the 27th November, so if anybody wants to catch up for a pint. Derek, where do we take it for here then? Because after the game at the weekend...
Australia, that's where we take it. Let's go.
Do you think the players that we've got, a new managers can do anything with them? Derek?
Aye, because I think there is some good players there. Certainly in the forward areas, from midfield to front, aye, definitely. But I think where the manager might struggle a little bit is at the back. I just don't think we've got the quality. But we'll play a different brand of football. It'll not be the build-up for Butland, what we discussed. We've got some of the players at the back that are clearly no comfortable playing that type that Russell Martin wanted. So a new manager comes in, different style, different formation, maybe more aggressive, get the ball forward a bit quicker into wide areas. A new manager can make such a difference, I think, in such a short space of time. So I think a new manager coming in can get a tune out of the players.
There's a good friend, Derek, Ronnie Johnson. He's saying Souness and Weir are always looking positive, which
I
is
love
much
Ronnie
better.
Johnson.
So
I love
that's a
mixing
friend
his
over in
fridge
Spain.
up a wee bit.
Don't you wind him up about his fridge? He's a bit OCD about his fridge. Anyway, we do need guys like that, Charlie, don't we?
100%. Farewell was the wrong appointment for me as well. I'd seen what he'd done at Everton. I'm not saying he spent £1 billion in players, because there was somebody before him as well. But Everton were a shambles, as somebody mentioned earlier. Man United are a shambles, as with Patrick Stewart, been there for a long time. And then we seem to hire these two guys who their track records aren't very good. But Farewell for me bigger because his recruitment's been so poor. I don't think he looked into some of the positions properly. I just think we've got so many midfielders. We maybe needed more attackers and maybe another couple of defenders. But let's see what the 49ers want to do now, because it has been a shambles. But now the guy's away. We move on and we just appoint the right people now. That's what we have to do.
I think he underestimated the massive job at Rangers. I think it was a little bit arrogant. I think they come up here and thought they would take over and try and get everybody from England up here and try and revamp the whole thing. They've done far too many signings too early doors for me. Too many changes too soon doesn't work. The signings, obviously, we've spoke about was, not good enough. If I was in Kevin Thelwell's shoes at the minute and the new manager was coming in, I would be taking a sidestep and I would say, you go and run it. We'll get the players that you want. I'll still do the job for you. I'll go and get the players over the line, but you'll have the say. Then it takes the limelight off of him because he's under massive scrutiny and pressure for me.
Derek, I'm going to do a wee bit of role playing. I know you like a wee bit of role playing, right? So you've just been announced as a new Rangers manager, right? And somebody comes up to you and say, "Oh, by the way, we Mikey Moore, you need to play him at least, or you need to start in 25 games."
No, you know the answer before you've asked
Let me
the
say
question.
this for you, Del. GTF.
I mean, that just, I said the last time, it's ridiculous that somebody should have that in their contract. If it is the case, I just think it's nonsense. I think it's, you judge a player Monday to Friday, you see how they're performing, what their mindset's like, everything, their body language, what's going on behind the scenes, family-wise. You take everything into account before you name your team come a Saturday or a Thursday, whenever it is. So it's all these different factors you've got to think about. You can't just say, "Oh, here we go, he has to start or play in 22 games. Nonsense.
Charlie, I'll pass that over to you as well. So you've just been made the Rangers manager. How would you approach it, and what's your first things you would change?
I wouldn't have taken him.
No, I don't mean just Mickey Moore, just mean in general.
What would I change?
Aye.
I would be trying to sign some Scottish people. I'd be trying to get some Scottish players in the building. When Souness came in, Souness signed English players, right? But these English players he signed were top-notch English players, English internationals, Woods, Butcher, you name it. We're signing average players in the Championship. But it doesn't work. The English, I think I said that after the first week or whatever, we've been lucky. We've had Aribo and
Calvin Bassey.
Bassey, who's probably came for the Championship, have done well. And I think Celtic across well, even though I didn't bother with them, I think they've had Ledley and O'Reilly. The rest just don't work. There's just no use signing these guys because they're not better than what we've got.
See, to come back in with it, I think what's really important is the backroom staff as well. Somebody that's got a connection. We look at if it was a Gerrard, see Gary McAllister. Gary McAllister was a class player. But as a wee, obviously liking to us, a Rangers man, wee Defoe. Then you look what last season, tail end, we're struggling. Barry comes in, legend. Who does he bring in with him? Obviously guys with a history. Are playing with Rangers Football Club. So it is important. Of course, you're right, Charlie. You have to have a kind of a spine of the team, that are Scottish. But it's the backroom staff as well. People that have been there, done it, understand everything that goes with the job. So I think that's where you can, if we want to go back to Russell Martin, that's again where he made a massive mistake. You've got to implement that.
Sorry, Del. I think every successful team has had that kind of setup. Even going back to Mourinho when he's first
Hitmen.
in charge at Chelsea, they had John Terry's, Joe Coles, Lampard's, Ashley Coles, all English boys that knew how to play for the club under pressure. You could go to Man United when all the young five come through. Same setup.
Great
Because
point.
you've got a bit of DNA in the team. Rangers are lacking that massively. And they need to go out and sign the likes of, I hate to bring it up, Ferry, your boy, I would have went out. If I was his agent, by the way, he'd be there. But Lennon Millers of this world and Lyle Cameron's, get a bit of blood in. It's young boys with a bit of passion, show a bit of arsehole when they get and play and fight for a jersey. And as Dale says there, see if you've got that core right of the management team and the setup there and the boys in the team there, I think that gives you a great platform. I think it would improve things no end.
Mm-hmm. Derek, a lot of people in the chat are asking if Barry's put his name forward for it. I don't know if you've...
I don't know. I mean, as I say, when it comes to the professional side of the club, I'm not going to interfere with Barry. Barry's very strong-minded when it comes to that. He's got a clear way that he would want to go about his business. So, no, I don't pry. We're quite like that as a Ferguson family. It's like Lewis, there's a wee example. Lewis has come out, he's in the Scotland squad. Have I spoke to him? I've not spoke to him yet. There might be a wee text or two getting into tomorrow, but that's the way we kind of work. It's funny when it comes to the football side of it. So we don't pry too much. We don't kind of try to find out stuff so that we can put it out there. You know, I think that's maybe, I don't know. Maybe we're off or not, or else maybe we show respect to each other. You can look at it both ways.
Somebody in the chat has said he's been on Go Radio and he's already ruled himself out for that position, you know. But
I don't listen to Go Radio, to be honest. I only listen to BBC Radio Scotland.
The advert there. Derek, somebody's asking if that's you sitting outside Tesco, can you pop in and get a meal deal?
I could do a meal deal. I'm starving. So am I. I've got my water. Well, I've just finished my water. So no, I'm not outside Tesco, but I'm in. I'm in my favourite place, my favourite town.
Aye, we know
you know
what
that is.
We know what that is. Charlie, we'll talk a wee bit about the game at the weekend. Obviously, Russell Martin talks about improvements, but did you see any?
No, it was another poor performance. They should have been 3 or 4 behind. So the nonsense he was coming out with was, I think it was just the pressure was telling on the guy. He was just trying to say anything to keep his job, and the fans can see what they're actually watching. So he wasn't pulling any wool out of anybody's eyes with some of his comments.
Jamie, we were very lucky actually the weekend, weren't we?
I watched it, and to go 1-0 up was totally against the run of play. Falkirk played some great stuff, positive, good on the ball. By the way, John Spencer's boy Brad gave Rodwell the runaround, but I think I would give Rodwell the runaround. To be fair, can't believe he even plays him. But Falkirk, honestly, to go 1-0 down was totally against the run of play. As I say, again, Butland kept us in it. They could have been 3 up. We did well. We got drawn, and really, and what's worrying for me is we've played teams like St Mirren away from home. We've played Motherwell away from home, and recently we've played the 2 teams that have been elevated into the SPL, Livingston away, and obviously Falkirk. Now that's teams that Rangers are expected to absolutely trouse these teams. We've still got to go to Pittodrie, Parkhead, Tynecastles. The top 6 teams we've still to go to. That's a worrying sign.
Mm-hmm. Charlie, there's 11.
Jamie, can I come in there, Ricky?
Aye.
You just mentioned a name there, wee John Spencer, his boy. I've watched him over the course of the last 2-3 seasons. He's a cracking player. And you sometimes wonder, and obviously I'm thinking I know who he supports. Then you could probably get him for nothing. Put him in there. Whether it works or not, we don't know, but there you go. We don't think outside the box at times to even go that way, that route, and say, let's put him in. He can play. Can he handle the other side of it? Now they don't
look outside the box. And to be honest, they're looking at, and we could go to Fernandez here, the boy that they got for Peterborough, a project. Rangers can't do projects. But they can take a gamble on a Brad Spencer, who's going to cost you buttons.
Aye, it's just that there'll be other cases of that through Scottish football.
100%.
Aye, so sometimes even look at that. You think that. It's just when you mentioned that, I went, God, he's a good player. So he's very good. He's the captain, isn't he?
Yeah.
I think he's a captain.
And listen, you've elevated him into a top team. The ball improved.
Better players run about him. Aye, you never know.
Maybe-
Just it made go
Maybe
with
he's better
thinking there.
staying. Maybe he's better staying at Falkirk then if he'd try to play a better
They're
player.
playing more attacking, attractive football at the minute, that's for certain.
Aye.
Charlie, there's 11 points between us and Hearts. Do you think Rangers can still go on to win the league?
If we get the appointments right, if we appoint the right people within the next few days or week, then we can definitely get ourselves pushing up the league. Can we win it? I don't know, because I don't think the players are good enough either. But we just need the right appointment in the door. Who's going to be able to take us forward? Because it's been just a mess. It's been poor performance after performance. And we can't say there's been, out with the Pilsen game was the only one we could say that was a performance. You go, well done, that was good to watch. But there's not been anything else.
Derek will ask you the same thing. You think we've got a
Well,
chance?
Right, you look who's top of the league. It's Hearts.
Aye.
Can they sustain that? I'm not so sure. So we get a new manager in. Could we push them? And also, it comes down to that. As the league goes on, you come to near it. Can they handle the pressure? So that question would need to be answered. And then if you look at Celtic, who are sitting in second at the moment, are they a great side? Absolutely not. Even their managers come out and said that as well. But what they have done is they have won some games of football, but they're far from where they've been over the course of the last number of seasons. So the answer to your question is, aye, we get appointment in, we're still in with a wee it's an outside chance, but it can still be done.
Right, Derek, I'll just stick with you now because there's loads of people asking about Lewis. I'm just going to put you in the spot. Would he come to the Rangers if the money was right and everything, do you think?
Do you know, that would be nothing to, and I'm not just saying this, nothing to do with me. He's his own man. He's an experienced boy. He's 26-year-old. So he's got an agent at the moment. So he has, I know I've got an agent on the show, but I mean, he Ball's looking after him. But that would be his decision. Nothing to do with me. If he came and asked me, what do you think, Dan? I would be honest and upfront with him. So no, listen, somewhere down the line, I would love that. You know that, Ricky? Spoke about it hundreds of times. I mean, look, I played at Rangers for 7 years. Then, I wanted my brother to play with Rangers, but I didn't think he'd become a Rangers legend, a Rangers captain, but he certainly did. He's an icon. So, could we keep that going in the Ferguson family? It would be magic. The only thing is, I'm having granddaughters now. There's granddaughters left, right, and centre. I need somebody to come up with a boy. Come on. No, that's really bothering me because I want them to be healthy and all that stuff. But come on, produce a wee boy.
It might, listen, your boy might come out of Italy with Luigi further down the line. Or Mario.
Luigi? No, that would be marvellous. It would, but I would love that to happen. So, but in the near future, I don't see it. But it would be magic for me personally. Yeah. But I let him go on with his business.
Aye. Jamie, I'll ask you the same as well. Do you think Rangers can still win the league?
I think it's a big ask.
Aye.
For the first time, you get teams that go top of the league. Aberdeen had a run last season. They went top of the league. I think everybody knew they would fall off the chain simply because the squad's not big enough. When they get injuries and suspensions, clubs like that tend to fall away. Round about the Christmas period, funnily enough, it always kind of the telling time. But I do believe Hearts, if they are where they are at the minute at Christmas, I think Tony Bloom, we all know he's a billionaire. He will back Derry McInnes. If he thinks he's got a sniff of winning that league, he'll make a big impact. And I think he'll give him money to spend in January if he needs improvements. So I think there's a big chance Hearts will be top of the league. Celtic are beatable. I think that's what's frustrating from a Rangers point of view. I seen them in the first game of the season and I looked at them and I thought they were very stale. They'd no, wingers getting wide. They lacked a little bit of creativity themselves. I think they were beatable. And from the Rangers point of view, we had a great chance this season if we hit the ground running, and it went completely wrong.
Charlie, I know that you're good friends with Derek McInnes and you're a big fan of him. It's been the next Rangers manager, and a lot of fans on here are saying that if he does get offered it again and turns it down again, it might be the last chance, because obviously he's turned it down in the past.
Yeah, he wouldn't expect to get another chance if he turned it down. But I don't even think he'll get asked, to be honest with you. I really don't.
Timing.
Well, I still think he would take it now. I'd still think he would. I think he would, but I'm not speaking for Derek. I would hope he would take it. But if he did get offered it and he said no, then I would think that would be finished for Derek, I think. But who are they looking for? Who are the owners looking for? They said they're going to be in a big part of who comes in, so they need to get it right. That's what they need to do. They just need to get it right.
Definitely. I think this podcast has been about 10% about actually the football game now, which hopefully in the next couple of weeks it will change. Obviously our next game is not until the 18th, which is probably a good thing, but we need to get the manager in as soon as possible so he can work with these boys that he's got. So make sure and follow us on YouTube and Facebook and everything, and click on the notifications, because we're just kind of coming on when we can. We're trying to do it after every game, but just because of holidays and things like that, it might change. But the next one's probably not until the Dundee United game, but we'll maybe, if there's a manager gets announced, we'll maybe jump on. So make sure and follow us. And Jamie, once again, thanks for coming on, mate.
No problem. Just a big shout out to the guys at Dumbarton Network Rail Depot, the P-Way team. I'd say I'd give them a wee shout. Great bunch of guys.
Excellent. And Derek, you can go and do your shopping now. Looks like you're actually ready to go shoplifting with that black jacket on.
Aye, might be, by the way. Breaking into people's houses and all that. You never know what I got up to, Ricky.
Brilliant.
I
Anyway,
never know what I'm going to get up to.
Charlie, thanks again.
Cheers, guys.
And thanks to all our sponsors. We've got the Leiden Tavern at Ibrox, Plugged In Business Solutions, DB Dental Care, Mr. Sings India, and Avia Signs. And like I said, make sure and follow us so that you don't miss a podcast. All right, take care.
Take care.
Cheers, guys.